Snowy Königssee, Bavaria, Sunday morning, and it is four-man bobsleigh time, the third race of the BMW IBSF World Cup season. Martin Haven and John Morgan waiting for the action to get underway. Our 20 fastest sleds from the first heat getting ready to go. And John, we've got a great battle on our hands for the top positions.
Well, there's one guy who's 30 hundredths ahead of everybody else, but Benny Meyer, he's got 2 medals and 2 starts in four-man. This Austrian athlete has really impressed me, besides the fact he's now a father. He's got the second best starts each week in these four-man competitions, and up against the Germans, that's pretty good. And with those start times, he's also a good pilot. He's in a bronze medal position. Next up, here's a surprise. This is not Lochner of Germany. This is Hafner of Germany in second. He doesn't get the starts that the other German teams does, but never medaled. He's been close. Maybe this is the day he breaks through. And then there's this guy, the greatest of all time, who just, it's like he's the only guy racing. Nobody can touch him at the start. Speeds. The only way he's gonna lose is to crash or make a huge mistake. He's been unbelievable the last 6-7 years in the sport, and it doesn't look like anything's going to change today.
Doesn't much, does it? No, he is chasing World Cup win number 50, which will be his 14th in four-man. Gives you an idea of how dominant he's been in the two-man sphere. And the battle for the medals, well, it is Hafer, Meyer and Lochner, basically. And then behind, we've got 5 sleds covered by 700s. In the 70s, we've got 5 sleds covered by 800s. Behind them, Markus Treichel, Roman Heinrich, just 100th between the two of them. 100th ahead of Suk-Yin Jung. Jeff Gabouin made the field, 300s ahead of Seaman Friedli. Ivo de Bruin, 20th place, will be the first to go. But Switzerland's Michael Quonen in his second World Cup start, and Cody Basque of the USA did not make the cut. And John, of the 2 US sleds, Basque was more likely, you would think, to make it in, but that's the nature of this track. It is very easy to give things away here. Nothing is taken for granted.
Yeah, Basque had the 8th best start time. So for him to come down like that might be the worst run of his career in the World Cup. And Gadbois' starts aren't as good, and he made it, but going to be pretty interesting for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, it seems like, Martin. And
yep.
There's the guy. It's just another day at the office for him.
Here's our start list then. Ivo de Bruin will be first off. Then Seaman Friedli and Jeff Gabouin in their tight little battle of just 300ths of a second. Yunjin Suk and Roman Heinrich, 100th between them. Then the 5 sleds, which are battling, covered by 800ths down to Lamin Dean. The next 5 sleds covered by 700ths down to Justin Cripps. Then Johannes Lochner with Benny Meyer and Christoph Hafer. 400s cover that battle for silver. Race 3 of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup. Königssee, Bavaria, second heat about to get underway with Ivo de Bruin of the Netherlands, Joost Duma, Dennis Venke and Janko Francic on the sled. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action with you.
Well, Ivo's start times, 17th best start in the first run, but Martin, he was doing pretty good till Kreisel, and no speed in the bottom part of the track. The S's, this 4-corner combination, it's like a Disney park theme ride. You know, it's, if you get it right, it's great. If you don't, and Ivo de Bruin just did that very well. You won't see many sleds be as clean as he just was. Just that one hit's the norm. Down here is where he lost all sorts of time, Martin. I think he was just steering too much. Remember down in curve 12, yeah. He had the back end of the sled just going sideways.
Well, it really got away with him much better this time. Better speed as well, 122 kilometers an hour. And across the line, 49.49. And that is nearly 3/10 quicker, just over, than his first run. And it was much tidier below the Kreisel. All that extra speed.
Yeah, what he did below on the graveyard section, the going uphill section of the track, Look at the runner tips. And look at there. You can see hard steering there. like he did in the first heat. You won't see many sleds have to steer that hard to get off that curve. And Martin, it's not the athlete who drives the most that wins, it's the athlete who drives the least. I just noticed him really hard steering in both runs on the exit of Kreisel.
Yeah, hasn't got the timing right off Kreisel. It's a 3-pressure, 360-degree curve. It is tough to get the timing right. Next up for Switzerland, Simon Friedli, Adrian Fessler, Dominik Schlepfer, and what I didn't spot, a late replacement, Marco Leimgruber, the older brother of Roger, makes his World Cup debut today, so he was in the sled in the first heat as well. 8 four-man World Europa Cup starts with Timo Röner and Jan Moulinier, and now with Simon Friedli, he makes his World Cup start. So he's on the back handles there, 33-year-old Roger Leimgruber. Welcome to World Cup racing. I beg your pardon, Marco. So
well, it's about start times. He didn't get a very good start, Martin. You know, he finished 13th and 8th in the 2 previous four-man races so far this season, and so that replacement in his crew has definitely affected his start. He had the 21st best start in the first run, and that doesn't really get me excited when I see start times like that.
They just started 4.99. There were a lot of 4.99 starts, actually. Whoa, big skids down into the Kreisel.
$1,800s. He's gonna have to find the jets here to catch De Bruyn, who had a very good bottom half of the track. It wasn't De Bruyn's better second heat, it was his bad first heat that sentenced him to the 20th spot in the field. 49.76. He's 100th worse than his first run. De Bruyn went 3 tenths better. So De Bruyn really cleaned up the mistakes on the bottom, and that's why he beat Friedel.
Yeah. So Simon Friedli, still relatively new to driving. Loads and loads of four-man races as a brakeman.
Little skidding going into the counter curve, and here is pretty high there. And here in the Kreisel, aerodynamic profile's pretty good, especially by the brakeman.
Well, Friedli, his 4th World Cup start in a four-man. Ivo De Bruyn, our current leader, making his 36th start today. Jeff Garbois, well, this is his 7th four-man World Cup race. It's his first ever here in Königssee, first race of any kind ever here, apart from yesterday's two-man. And he made the field in 18th place.
Driving a Swiss rented sled, Adrian Adams from North Carolina, Niederhofer's from San Antonio, Chris Horns from Pembroke, Mass. 15th best start in the first run, and Chris Horn in the back. You're going to see a lot of Chris Horn's shoulders again. When you're in a rented sled, oh boy, did he hit that hard. Oh boy, it was really hard hitting that take out of that first curve. But when you're in a rented sled, you don't have a chance to really get into a great aerodynamic profile. I don't think you have to know too much that that's not the way.
Whoa. 900s over De Bruyn from the first heat. It's all gone away.
Had that skid on the exit of... Watch out here. Oh, it's pretty tame down there, Martin. Ice Meister's made it very, very nice for everybody.
Not in the back seats of the sled, I don't think. That's pretty bumpy down there. Across the line he comes, he's in 3rd place. But the good news for Jeff is that he had 1 loose run in the 2nd heat, because if that was in the first heat, he may not have got a 2nd heat. That's what happened to his teammate Cody Bascu.
Yeah, he was first heat. He did really well on the exit of the S's. Look at this big hump here. That is, boy, that's worth 3 tenths. And then down here again, look at the aerodynamics. You can see almost everybody there. That's the rented sled nemesis. And then here, he just came out too early. He did not do that in the first heat. First heat, he was pretty clean. And down here in the gremlin part of the track, big back end. Oh boy, when you get the four-mans up in the air like that, that's 1,400 pounds.
Yeah.
Milton, Vermont.
It's a lot of sled and meat to shift, isn't it? Well, just ahead of him in the first of our 2 heats was Suk Yoon-jin of Korea. First World Cup race of the season for him. Didn't do the World Championship, so his last race was in February 2020. And his target,
Not a bad
Roman
start.
Heinrich.
494. They had the same time in the first run. Look at his entry, though, into the first curve. He didn't have that huge bump that we saw the Jeff Gapoy hit on the take-on. And this Korean went last guy down, Martin. Didn't have a lot of good ice to work with. And these are pretty good lines right here by this young athlete from Korea. Only the second best speed, but he's got 2/10 in the bank. That doesn't mean anything on this track, and it's down to 1500s. Any mistakes in this graveyard, and he won't be the leader. But he's got enough. He's got the best speed, 1800s. This will be the leader. 1100s better than his first run. So he takes over the lead. Ivo de Bruin is moved out.
Had two previous World Cup races here. His best result last year, 13th place. That was just a couple of weeks before we
exit. This is really good. This is A+.
And driving it round the bend away to get that tiny touch. Yeah.
Martin, both bunks are hitting at the same time in that first hit. That was really good.
That's how you
can't do that with a monobob.
Well, his target was Roman Heinrich. Heinrich, the French crew, 100th ahead of him. Dorian Hauteville at 3, a late replacement on the sled this morning. And
they had the same start times in the first run. Oh, they got a problem. 491, 300's better. Well, let's watch the velocity. Only the 3rd best velocity. That's because the guy couldn't get in.
Anything moving around is going to take energy out of the sled. 100th in it. He's going to have to be very clean below the Kreisel, skidding down there into Jena.
4th best speed. Again, the Korean sled went late. Roman went earlier. 900's back. Now the question is, he could fall more than 2 spots. 1000s, 17. He's going to fall behind de Bruin. He's going to fall 2 spots. There it is. So Ivo de Bruin has moved up 4 spots. And the French can only look on and, well, again, they had to replace somebody this morning. That was not, it was a better start by 300s, Martin, but they could not get in the sled correctly. And it doesn't seem like much, but the precision of a 4-man bobsled start. Number 2 is waiting for the 3 guy to get in, but the 3, he drops down before the 3 guy gets in, and that's movement around. So they had the best start. They had the best start, but the 3rd best velocity. And then here, look at this skid going into
his left leg didn't get in. Big skid there in the Jena curve. Ooh, don't want that. Late onto Jena, late onto the Kreisel, late off, and there goes all the time. 5 of our 20 starters are down, with Yoon-jin Suk of Korea as our race leader. Our 6th sled is Markus Treichel of Austria, with Markus Gluck, Gregor Glaboniat making his World Cup debut at 3 in a 4-man sled, and Sebastian Mitterer.
Well, not a very good start, but a pretty good drive down the track for Markus. They're all on the sled. So they got 300s better than they had in the first run, 3rd best velocity. But Martin, he had some pretty good lines coming down the track.
And he's going to need them again, John, because he only had 200s in hand over Suk Yoon-jin, and he crushes the wall coming out of the S's. He is destined to plunge down the leaderboard.
Yeah, that is, it's hard to get these 4-mans into a skid. But when they do, they have a mind of their own, as we just saw with Treichel's exit of the S's into the bendaway. And now he's hanging in there, though, Martin. For all the problems he had, he drops 3. Ivo de Bruin has gone up into the 15th spot now.
Yep. Ivo had a better second heat, didn't he? Last 2 or 3 guys have had a shocker. That was a shocker down the bendaway from Marcus Treichel.
1700 slower. The exit here on the wrong side. Look at him come out and hit the left wall, his right, and that sends him into a no-no. This is, you don't want to be skidding on ice. You know, we talk about friction. Well, that might be the worst skid we've seen anybody since the monobobs yesterday. That was...
Yeah. I always think it looks like
skid,
a
you can't get it out.
bus. Exactly, yeah. Once it's gone, it's gone. Okay, now we get to 5 sleds covered by 800s. We've just had 3 sleds covered by 200s. We saw what a mix-up there was in that group, and that will continue. Now they are the better part of 0.2 of a second ahead of Suk-Yun Jin, though, Patrick Baumgartner and his crew. So let's see what they can produce. Didn't get a great first start, though.
No, he never gets a good start. You know, 5:02 the first run. 5 flats, at least they get better. Velocity, that's pretty good entrance, 6th best velocity. Well, he's got the 7th best start, so that's a little bit of improvement. But Martin, Baumgartner is starting to drive 4-mans. He had, you know, with the deficient starts, he's got a little bit of a skid, nothing like Marcus Treichel had. Speed, 2nd best speed. This is what I mean about him. He's starting to figure out that it's not steering. Not to steer is the way you get down the fastest. And great lines, 1000s pulling away. Baumgartner is finally starting to impress me a little bit that he's driving better. I mean, 59, 52, Manny Mahata won the World Championships on this track in 2011. So Baumgartner with the 7th best. I like what he did here, I really do.
And he knows this track well. 16 previous races in all kinds of categories, including the World Championships here, so he should know this track. Now, how far could that move him up the order?
Runner tips, really quiet. Remember we saw Ivo de Bruin, the runner, you could see the runner tips. He's checked the runners coming off the curve. Baumgartner's starting to figure it out. He gets a start time. They find a way to get some fast athletes in the sled. He's starting to show some driving.
300s ahead of Patrick Baumgartner in the first of our 2 heats was the Czech Republic's Dominik Dvorak, with Dominik Suchy, Jan Sindelar and Jakub Nošek behind him. The crew in totaling over now 100 4-man starts. So the opposite of the crew of Patrick Baumgartner, who are still relatively inexperienced. These guys know their onions. And if that doesn't consign them to a start mishap, nothing will.
Don't jinx them.
Yeah.
Good technique. 495, still 200 slower than their first run. Only the 7th best velocity, Martin. Something wrong there. They should have had at least the 2nd or 3rd best velocity. And, you know, the most experienced crew in the track. And this looks pretty good. He should have great speed. 2nd best speed. And, I didn't like the way he came out of there, but again, it's so tame down there. Let's see what he does in the graveyard. Skid, 1400s, back skid. Oh, airborne into the finish, 49-43. He lives on as the leader, but 49-43 is only 100th worse than his first heat.
He added another 900s to his lead over Baumgartner, and don't forget, he was in this group of 5 sled covered by 800s, so he's at least going to hold his position, may move up.
Can't fault much of that. I mean, no runners left the ice. This little mistake here, though, left side of your screen. Bang, watch the back end. There's a skid. That's all going uphill now. Look at it. Still 100 yards later. still have a problem with that mistake he made previously. And look at the airborne he gets there. So he'd look at, he just, how can I make that mistake? Going uphill, but the speeds are slow. I don't speak Czech.
No. Next up, Won Yun-jung. Now, 18th best start, but 12th best downtime, and made a lot of his speed below the Kreisel, didn't he? Kim Jin-soo, Kim Jong-young are relatively experienced, but the 19-year-old brakeman, Chai Byung-do, only his third World Cup start. Like you said, John, he may be the next generation of driver once Won retires, which surely he'll do after Beijing Games.
495. Fourth best to the sixth best velocity. This isn't the type of start that Won got when he won the Olympic silver medal just 2 years ago on his home track in Pyeongchang, but these are the lines that let him do that silver medal. Look at this. Should be great speed here. It is. Martin, he can still drive. And Martin, you forget, he won a gold medal on this track in two-man in 15. So the guy's got some great eyes and hands. Beautiful, perfect. Only the second best, but he'll be the leader here.
By 1100.
Can only look on.
Finds nearly a 10th better than his first heat, 49.34 compared to 49.40. 600ths of a second doesn't sound like much. I mean, it isn't much, but that's almost the spread covering these 5 sleds.
He went late in the first heat too, Martin.
Yeah.
Get down, choreography on ice. The number 2 man waiting, he's waiting. Oh, and he goes in before the 3 guy gets down. That wasn't perfect. You know, it's all cohesion. How's the aerodynamics? You can see pretty good. And look at these lines. I mean, Martin, the Olympic silver medalist, still got the goods with the eyes and the hands.
Yeah. Well, another start mishap. That's 2 so far in the second heat. That's 2 this week. Alexei Stulnev up next for Russia. 10th place after the first of our 2 heats. Kirill Antuk, Vasily Kondratenko and Roman Koshelev. No lack of experience in this crew. But as you pointed out, it is Rostislav Gajtukovic who has got the A team behind him. This is maybe the A- team, I guess.
11th best start in the first run, 493, but they should be down very efficiently. This is like, look at that. That's the best load I've seen yet, 49 start, and they're rewarded with the best velocity. That's what teamwork will do in the first 50 meters on this track. Watch the exit here of the S's though, Martin. This is it. Checking the runners, not perfect. Not as good as his first run. Might not have the best speed. No, see that exit hurt him.
He only had 300s
Only medal
over
he
Won.
ever won.
But look at that. He's out to 2 tenths ahead of Won.
Only medal he ever won, Martin, on this track in a 4-man 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Third best speed. He's the leader. You know,
wow,
pretty good.
That's a great run from Stulnev. Well, where's he found that speed? Nobody else has been able to be that much better than their first heat.
Well, the start time, number 1, was 300s better. 400s better. And he's 18 at the bottom, and the crew knows it. But the way they started the sled, that text talks to you about the cohesion. And here's the exit of Kreisel. There's the Russians hanging out of the back of the sled. Yeah. You've seen that. The aerodynamics. But watch the back end here. He hits the straight wall. Do we see a bunch of spray? A little bit of spray, a little bit of runners going up. That puts pressure on the nose.
Smile on his face under that helmet.
Yeah.
Alexei Stulnev, the race leader. 10 down, 10 to go. Race 3 of the BMW IBSF 4-man World Cup. Well, The forecast for the weekend was for a little bit of snow, but today was supposed to be relatively clear. There's a view of Grunstein. That's the mountain that hulkers above the top of the track, and wherever you look, John, not much in the way of blue sky. It's a beautiful dawn, quite clear, but then clouded over, quite heavy snow before we got our four-man race underway. There's Vasily Kondratenko.
Off in the distance, Martin, is the Eagle's Nest.
Yeah.
Spectacular. Here's the waiting line.
I always think of this place a lot like Lake Placid. It's a small town, Berchtesgaden, out in the country, and bobsled and sliding and luge have been such a huge part of its history. And everybody in town knows when the races are here. Some places you go, you know, my summer job in motorsport, nobody knows what's going on. Here, everybody knows.
Yeah, this is a very passionate community, you know, and they love the sliding sports, luge, skeleton, bob, the huge crowds, and it's just too bad we aren't seeing those normal huge crowds.
Well,
the luge
hopefully next year.
Over in Innsbruck. Yeah.
Hopefully next year.
You know, and Martin, this is quite a hotbed here. Martin, not far from here is Garmisch. You know, and then Innsbruck, St. Moritz. So like that was the old mainstay of the sport. Those four tracks back in the day, even before my day.
Well, we'll be heading back to Innsbruck for the third race weekend next week as our World Cup finale. We were due to have a race in Beijing on the new Olympic track in March, but circumstances being what they are, that was moved to Innsbruck, and then we'll head to Altenburg for the World Championships. 10 sleds down, 10 to go. Race 3 of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh four-man World Cup. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action. First sled on the ice this morning was Great Britain's Lamin Dean with Ben Simons, Joel Fearon and James De Solo. De Solo on the back, a newcomer, and Joel Fearon rejoining British bobsledding after sliding for the Swiss last year. Ben Semtek Simons at 2 has been part of Lamin's crew for several years. But again, good start, top 10 start, top 10 finish. Let's see what the Grenadier Guardsman can find here.
Well, Lamin likes these big sleds more than the two-man sleds, but he gets a competitive start, 492 there, which is exactly, but they only have the fourth best velocity. So Lamin's needs the perfect exit here to challenge the leader at the bottom, Stolnev. And this is pretty good. Speed, though,
Stolnev
going to be pretty important.
Yes. Stolnev had big speed, and Lamin is behind on the splits as well.
Way back. I mean, you're talking, he could drop 3 spots. He could drop 3 spots. He's got to stay within 30 hundredths. 29. Going to drop at least 2, maybe 3. 32, drops 3 spots.
Yeah.
Stolnev, they're liking it. And that was not very good descent. Martin was not a bad visual run, but obviously no speed.
Yeah. And again, as the weather changes, it's not quite as cold as the forecast. Maybe their runners are for colder ice. Start speed, 4th best.
Get in, what's number 2? He's waiting for, not bad. Not pretty good cohesion there. But the speed wasn't there. And he didn't have that bad of a bend away, the straightaway chicane into the Kreisel. Could have made a mistake in the S's that we didn't see. I agree, Lamin. I don't know what happened.
Alexei Stolnev, our race leader. Next we get to Oskars Malbardis. Now he was 61 hundredths off the lead in the first heat. Only 9 hundredths in hand over Stolnev then. Snow continues just to drift down here, so the track's not going to speed up any.
And the track record holder at the start posts the best start of the heat, but only has the 2nd best velocity. But this athlete here owns the track record in both the 2 and the 4 at the start. 2011 for the start, the 2-man, and 2017 for the 4-man. And he's got the best speed, as you would expect, in Kreisel. 900s and should start pulling away, Martin. Graveyard, got that. Best speed, probably 1500s in the lead. 14. Okay, as expected, Melbardis does what he's been doing for a long time.
Little wave there from Davis Springers. Oskars Melbardis, our race leader, hugely experienced driver.
Rudder tips, quiet. Really good aerodynamics for 4 very large men. And not much you can fault there. Look at the, this is down into the echo. This is the S echo right in here. This is, you gotta hit your mark perfectly here to exit going uphill. He likes it.
Yes. Alexis Dulnev offering his congratulations. Melbardis has the lead then. 200s ahead of him was Chris Spring, with rookie Chris Patrician on the back of the sled, making his first ever World Cup start at 4. And this is a group of 5 sleds, again covered by 700s.
495. Yep, Patricia is rookie. Patrician is a football player from Queens. Beautiful, beautiful school in Kingston, Ontario. I say that because I played football at McGill at Queens, and so it's good to see him in the back of the sled. And Springer, he's been down this track a lot. 600's back. Boy, Melbardis was quick down here. Chris is gonna have to find a magic German line. Can't make any mistakes. 5, he's bringing it back. Best speed. He might run out of track. Oh, he does. 200s. He was coming though.
He was coming.
To start.
He was 200s ahead of Melbardis in the first heat. He dropped 4 to Melbardis, so he finishes 200s behind. Yeah, piccolo, tiny gaps, but it will be another top 10 finish for Chris Spring. He was 11th last week in St. Moritz. He'll be at least 9th here.
Well, can't fault much with the Springer. The pilot, he's not only a pilot of 4-mans, he's also an airplane pilot now, and says the two have a lot in common, I believe.
Yeah, you can't mess it up. So Alana Myers-Taylor there watching down in the S's, in the lower labyrinth. Next up, Rostislav Gajtukovic of Russia. And this is the A-team, Alexei Zaitsev, big Ilya Malik at 3, and Ruslan Samitov on the... Look at Malik there on the left-hand side, head and shoulders above our cameraman. He's not easy to miss. But these guys, wow, they got him a great start, 3rd fastest in the field, and they know how to load a sled as well.
Well, 3rd best start in the first run of 488, so maybe 487, but watch him get in, get down perfectly. 483. Oh. No one's improved like that, so I keep saying this is the rising star in the Russian team, and if you keep putting starts down like that, you know, what's he, 26 years old, Martin?
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
little check. Pretty good, pretty good though. Didn't panic, he's right. Only the 7th best speed. Melbardis, the leader, it's out of 5. I don't think he's got it, Martin. Big steer there, too. Into Echo, he's got to be perfect there. He's still got a chance with perfect rise. No, gone now. Now the question is, he's going to fall behind Spring, too.
Oh, yes, he does. And that's the trouble when you make a mistake in such a tight group of sleds. It's the guy that blinks first, in the famous phrase.
They're not happy, the number 3 guy.
Lisbeth Meyer, watching from Altenburg, says, wasn't Samitov a former skeleton slider? And do you know what? That sounds very familiar.
Speed, Melbardis. Gatukovic not there with the speed at the start. Maybe that little checking of the runners on the straightaway before Kreisel was worse. This didn't help. He had a chance here, but you know, when you tap there, let's see the way he comes into the finish curve here. He's on the wrong side of that straightaway. We didn't see, probably bounced into the finish curve. And you're happy, I understand. It wasn't a perfect day.
A little more snow coming down as we get to our battle for fifth. Brad Hall, Taylor Lawrence, the return. Ex-slider, Olympic champion, Olympic bronze medalist rather, Bruce Tasker and Greg Cackett. And I just want to shout out Greg's dad, Paul Cackett. It's not the effects of recovering from surgery. I called him Peter in the first heat. Apologies for that. All the best wishes anyway.
Not great. 100 slower at the start, third best velocity. But he was very impressive in the first heat, Martin, coming late in the field. Yep. And this is a very impressive line there. Let's see if he can capture the top velocity. Second best velocity. Pretty good.
I've been so impressed with his driving, the opposite of their luck this season. He's just been right on it. 100th in it, could be very close with Melbardis.
300's back, fifth best speed. It's gonna fall at least one spot, Martin. Fourth best time, 49.22. 100 slower. I don't know what that is, but that's some...
That was Bomi saying hello to his grandma and his granddad, Oppa and Mama. So Brad Hall slips a spot into second with 5 to go. Still a firm result, and they didn't break any brakemen, and that is good news all round.
He's coming on, Martin, in the two-man, in the four-man. These are great lines. Obviously, he's figured out how to drive. Of course, having Bruce Tasker on the sled, wish I was there to give him a big hug. Great to see him back.
Yeah. Well, it means at least they've got 4 guys, because their final slider, Luke Dawes, has not been able to travel out from the UK. They're hoping he will be able to, because Bruce is officially retired. Oskars Melbardis leads with 5 to go. Justin Cripps, bronze medalist on this track last year. A bronze and a silver so far this year. What's he got?
486 start, that's what he's got. 200's better, but only the second best velocity. Cripps didn't have a perfect run out of the S's in the first run, as I remember. See what he does this time. Pretty quiet there. 1700s, pretty good there. Should have the best velocity here in the Kreisel, and he doesn't. 1700s, let's see if he can keep that. 16, that's pretty good. Only lose 100th with that fifth best velocity. Now, no mistakes in the graveyard. That's excellent. And here he comes, 17. He'll definitely maintain the position, put the pressure on him, move up. 49.00, 2/10 better. So no mistakes on this trip for the International Man of Mystery. I think that's a potential medal run right there, Martin.
Out of the S's in the first heat, John, remember he hit the inside short wall before he even got onto the bend away, and that consigned him to a spot out of the podium. But that might be a medal shout. You are absolutely right.
And the Canadians got that same air as the Russians in the back. Look at that, you know, the brakeman sitting way out there in the back. I'm going to be checking out my aerodynamics guy to tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly on that. But Cripps, yeah, if he would have done this in the first run, he might be up there in the top 3. He still might be up in the top 3, but he likes this track, Martin.
Yeah, he does, and maybe it's turning into a track that's liking him as well. He takes the lead with 4 to go. And Hansi Lochner, world champion on this track in 2017. He knows this track inside out. It's his home track. It's where he grew up sliding. And he was the winner here in the European Championships 2 years ago. Silver medalist last year.
Canadians just put down a big start time. So 486 in the first run for this local talent. born and raised a mile down the road. Uncle was a world champion, Olympic silver medalist in '92 in Albertville. His father was a competitor in the sport. This looks like a better run.
Nice
Speed, though, Martin.
It is. Second best.
Second best speed, and not the same sled, the Walner sled he's driving. He's got the FES, and he looked pretty perplexed getting out of that sled in the first heat. Because these lines,
I guess when you've driven Valners for so long, the FES feels a little different. 2300's up. Crooks is not going to get a medal, but is Lochner. 48.97. Is that enough to get himself into the medals? The battle for silver was 400s covering 3 sleds. Lochner has had his go. Let's see who else has got something in this second heat. That might be enough for a silver medal. I don't think it's going to be even close to enough for a gold. Don't fall over on the ice there, Hansi.
1300's better in this run than the previous run. Cripps went 2/10 better, but Lochner, how could you fault anything there, Martin? I mean, you know, the world champion from a few years ago on this track, and how could you, that's excellent. I mean, everything we're seeing here is, boy, Hansi, nothing I can say. Perfect run.
Yeah, they need more at the start though. Outstarted by 900 still by Friedrich's crew, but only by Friedrich's crew. Benny Meyer's team, well, they were 200 slower at the start, 200s ahead at the finish line. Let's see what Benny, Donat Moldovan, Marcus Sammer, and Sasha Stepan can do.
Need at least an 86 here to challenge. 85. What's the speed on the left? The velocity. The best velocity. I'm so impressed with what the Austrians have done in the summertime with their dryland training. He's posting the second, third best starts in every race that he comes to, Martin. And that's why he's been on the medal podium numerous occasions this season in both 2 and 4.
And they are staying healthy as well as fast. 2 medals so far this season. This is for 3 out of 3 for Benny Meyer.
Wow.
Nice looking run.
This is impressive.
Still ahead of Lochner on his home ice. Hansi Lochner may not get a medal. Benny Meyer will. He's going to have the lead at the line by 1300s.
There's Wolfgang Stampfer, the speed merchant himself. Look at these guys. I'm telling you, these are overachievers this season. This team is, in my opinion, there's been a lot of chalk. Everybody's seen what people can do, but
well, they are happy with that. A 3rd medal in a row, and that might be enough for a silver. 2 sleds to go.
Perfect. There's another team with the brakeman in the back, so that might be the new trend here that I need to be better educated. The articulation of the sled didn't even split as he was coming off the Kreisel. You know, no steering, very precise.
Yeah. Nice lines from Benny Meyer. Somewhere in a hotel room in Altenburg, Elizabeth Meyer is leaping up and down with excitement. She's going to be holding her breath for the next minute or so as well. Christoph Harfer second after our first heat, with Kevin Corona, Christian Hammers, and Philip Verbeto. A 490 start, so they lost a couple of hundreds to Benny at the start. They will be trying to improve on that, and Harfer will be desperately trying to hang on to a potential silver medal.
Martin, he's never medaled, has he? I don't think he's ever medaled
not in
before.
a 4-man. 6th in the race in Winterberg was his best World Cup result so far. This is only his 5th start in a 4-man in World Cup.
Best velocity, not the best start. So he's got the chance to control his own destiny here. He was perfect in the first run. I don't know how perfect that was.
Doesn't have the speed that Benny had. He's in an FES sled. Benny Meyer is in a Valner. A 10th back.
But this is...
And the question now is, will he hold off Lochner? Lochner is in second, 1300s back. He's going to be ahead of Cripps. He's behind Lochner on the splits.
I don't think so.
Doesn't have the speed. Lochner's in the medals.
Drops two.
Meyer will take at least a silver.
Look at Rennie Spies.
Yeah. Well, we know where it went away, John. You don't have to look too hard. You just go back and look at the bend away. That's where the speed went.
Yep. Yep. Had the best velocity after the first curve here. You know, it doesn't take too much visual observation to know that wasn't perfect. And then here he hits. That's not bad, but right here is where it goes sideways. Bang.
Yeah.
Bang. That's not bad either there, Martin.
Puts you offline into Jena, then you're offline in the Kreisel, then you have to fight it in the Kreisel. Yeah.
Half a kilometer down.
Well, here are our leaders. Start record 4:73 in the snow. It's going to be tough, but you know they're going for it anyway. 4:78. So they are 100th off their first start. But these guys, Francesco Frigic gave himself 0.3 of a second nearly over his closest rival in the first heat.
Well, I don't ever like to say victory laps, but this is like a victory lap because he's ridiculous how far he is in advance of the rest of the field.
Second best speed.
Doesn't matter. He just comes through here, he wins. There, he wins. Now he can put a parachute out, Martin, and still win the race right now. He's got such a lead.
He could roll it off here and still win. 3,900 up. It's not a huge improvement, but he comes across the line for his second World Cup win on this track, his third gold medal after the World Championships, and that is World Cup win number 50 for Francesco Frigic.
The question I got to ask, do you think it ever gets old? Winning like he does?
Well, John, you know, you've spoken to him countless times. You spent a fortnight with him in the same hotel in the World Championships last year. You can answer that question. No, it never gets old, because every day when they come to the track, they have a new target. And often they left the target there the previous day, but there is always something. They are always trying to be better than themselves.
And they stay healthy. You know, no hamstrings and groins and back problems, and they achieve these unbelievable start times so much better than everybody else. And he just comes down the middle of the track. You know, I've seen them all. Monty, Cher, Longen, Holcomb. I've seen 5 decades of great drivers. This is the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
and he's still young.
And we're living in a golden era. Francesco Frigic will be seen as in the same hallowed terms as those names, particularly Eugenio Monti, because he will be seen as the greatest, certainly of his generation and probably of any. He wins from Benny Meyer and Johannes Lochner. Christoph Hafer, a medal slips out of his grip. Justin Cripps in 5th ahead of Oskars Melbardis. Brad Hall in the end in 7th position ahead of Chris Spring, Rostislav Gajtukovic, and Alexei Stulnev driving himself back up into 10th place. So those are our finishers. Race 3 is done. The final World Cup race of the season in Innsbruck next week as we head back there for our final World Cup weekend before 2 weeks of World Championship action in Altenburg, Germany. Women's bobsleigh still to come here on Sunday morning here in Königssee. Till then, from John Morgan, from me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew, Francesco Frigic is your race winner. And he will go on and look to take 2 more World Championships in Altenburg, his home track, in a couple of weeks' time. Frigic, the points leader. Benny Meyer creeps ahead of Justin Cripps. Hansi Lochner stays in 4th. Christoph Hafer, though, jumps ahead of Rostislav Gajtukovic. Alexei Stulnev and Dominik Dvorak moving ahead of Roman Heinrich, who came here in 8th place. Melbardis moves up from 16th to 10th position ahead of Seaman Friedli, who also creeps up the order at the expense of Patrick Baumgartner, Dominic Dvorak and Ivo de Bruin. 25 drivers have competed so far in our 3 World Cup races, and we may see some new names again next weekend, as some of the big stars will be heading to Altenburg for next week's paid training rather than the season finale in Innsbruck. But John Morgan and I will be there to watch all the action with you. And hopefully Innsbruck will produce some close racing as ever. Until our women's race then, from John, from me and from the TV crew, stay safe and we will see you shortly for more action from Königssee.